The reflection in the glass wasn't the man Nathan Cross had become. It was the boy he used to be, 12 years old, standing in front of an empty house, wondering if his mother would come home from the hospital this time. Behind him, a door opened. "Sir, the acquisition is complete. Pacific Heights Residences is now fully under your ownership." Nathan didn't turn around. His fingers brushed the window of his 47th floor office, tracing the outline of a building across the bay, a 14-story residential tower, one particular window on the top floor. "Thank you, Margaret," he said. His assistant hesitated. After 11 years, she knew when to push and when to retreat. Tonight, she retreated. The door clicked shut. Nathan reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a piece of paper. Yellowed, worn, soft at the creases. The kind of paper they used to wrap sandwiches at the gas station in Harlan County, Kentucky, 22 years ago. A girl had given him that sandwich. A girl who didn't know that he hadn't eaten in 3 days. A girl who wrote 4 words on the wrapper before running back to her house. "Don't worry, she'll be okay." His mother died that night, but those 4 words in the cheese sandwich had kept Nathan alive long enough to find another reason to live. He had spent 22 years looking for that girl. 6 months ago, he found her. Emily Marshall stood in a kitchen that cost more than most people's houses. Marble countertops, Italian appliances, a view of San Francisco Bay that real estate agents called priceless. She was making pasta. Derek liked pasta on Tuesdays. The front door opened. The smell of whiskey reached her before his voice did. "I'm home." Emily turned, smile already in place. "Welcome back. I made your favorite. Why is there a number I don't recognize on your phone?" She froze. Her hand, still holding the wooden spoon, began to tremble. "That's the grocery store's customer service. I was asking about a delivery." Derek crossed the kitchen in 3 steps. "What did I tell you about talking to people without my permission?" "Derek, please, it was just..." The slap came so fast she didn't see it. One moment she was standing, the next she was on the floor. The side of her face burned, her head ringing from where it had struck the chair leg. Blood. She could taste it. "Look what you make me do." Derek's voice was calm now, almost bored. "Every time, Emily, every single time." He walked away, leaving her on the cold tile floor. Emily didn't cry. She had stopped crying 3 years ago. Instead, she crawled to the window. It was something she did on nights like this, pressing her forehead against the glass, looking out at the city lights, pretending she was somewhere else, someone else. "Does anyone out there know I exist?" Across the bay, Nathan Cross raised his binoculars. He had told himself he would only look once, just to confirm that she was happy, that the girl who saved him had found her own peace. Then he would disappear from her life forever. But through the lens, he saw everything. He saw the slap. He saw her fall. He saw her crawl to the window, blood running down her face, and press her forehead against the glass like a prisoner looking out at freedom. And when she raised her hand to wipe her eyes, her sleeve fell back, revealing a scar on her wrist, crescent-shaped. Nathan's binoculars clattered to the floor. He knew that scar. 22 years ago, Emily had fallen off her bicycle on the gravel road outside her house. Nathan had carried her home on his back, the only time he'd ever been inside her house. While blood dripped down her arm, her mother had cleaned the wound and kissed it, calling it a little moon to light your way. The girl in that penthouse wasn't just someone with the same name. It was her, and she was living in hell. Nathan stood motionless for a long time after the lights in Emily's apartment went dark. His first instinct was to go there right now, break down the door, drag her out, make that man pay for every bruise he had ever left on her skin. But Nathan hadn't built a $4 billion company by acting on instinct. He had grown up watching his mother return to his father again and again, no matter how many times the man beat her. He had seen the same pattern in the women at the shelters his foundation funded. The psychology was brutal but consistent. If you rescue someone before they're ready to leave, they go back. Every time. Emily had to choose to save herself. All Nathan could do was make that choice possible. He picked up his phone. "Margaret, I need everything on Derek Marshall. Finances, employment, criminal history, everything." A pause. "Sir, it's midnight." "I know what time it is. I need it by 6 a.m. "Understood." Nathan ended the call and walked back to the window. 22 years ago, you gave me a sandwich when I had nothing. Now I have everything, and I'm going to make sure you get the chance to be free." The file on Derek Marshall arrived at dawn. Nathan read it over black coffee, his jaw tightening with every page. Derek had been fired 3 days earlier for embezzlement. $200,000 skimmed from client accounts over 5 years. The bank had chosen to let him go quietly rather than face a scandal, which meant Derek was home all day now, drinking, stewing in his failure, which meant Emily was in more danger than ever. But it also meant Derek was vulnerable. Nathan picked up his phone again. "Margaret, I need you to do something. Contact the property management company for Pacific Heights. Tell them the new owner is implementing a customer loyalty program. 6 months of free rent for all residents on the 14th floor. Sir, I know it sounds strange. Just do it. And make sure my name never appears on any of the paperwork." If Derek didn't have to worry about rent, maybe, just maybe, he would be slightly less likely to take his stress out on his wife. It wasn't enough. Nathan knew it wasn't enough, but it was a start. 2 weeks later, Nathan walked into a Whole Foods in Pacific Heights wearing jeans and a plain gray sweater. No driver, no security, no watch that cost more than most cars. He had studied Emily's schedule. Derek allowed her to go grocery shopping twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, for exactly 2 hours. It was one of the only times she left the apartment alone. Today was Tuesday. Nathan spotted her in the produce section, carefully selecting tomatoes one by one. She wore a turtleneck despite the warm weather, hiding bruises, he guessed. Her movements were small, contained, as if she was trying to take up as little space as possible. That's not the girl I remember. The Emily he knew had been wild, fearless, the kind of girl who would sprint across a gravel road barefoot to give a sandwich to a hungry neighbor. This Emily looked like she had forgotten she was allowed to run. Nathan picked up an orange and pretended to examine it. Then, deliberately, he let it slip from his fingers. It rolled across the floor and stopped at Emily's feet. She bent down, picked it up, and held it out to him. Their eyes met for a moment. Something flickered in her expression. Recognition? Confusion? Nathan couldn't tell. "Thank you," he said, keeping his voice neutral. "You're welcome," she whispered. Her voice was hoarse, as if she hadn't spoken to anyone in days. Nathan took the orange and walked away. He didn't look back, didn't say anything else, didn't push. But as he left the store, he allowed himself a small measure of hope. Because for just 1 second, Emily had looked at him like she was trying to remember something important. That night, Emily couldn't sleep. She lay in bed next to Derek, listening to him snore, and thought about the man in the grocery store. I know him. She was sure of it. Those eyes, that face, something about the way he moved. Careful, watchful, like he was used to being invisible. Where do I know him from? After Derek's breathing deepened, Emily slipped out of bed and padded to the bathroom. She locked the door and opened the cabinet beneath the sink, the one where she kept a small notebook hidden behind the cleaning supplies. Derek didn't know about the notebook. If he found it, he would destroy it, and probably her. But Emily needed something that was hers, something he couldn't touch. She flipped to the back, where she kept an old photograph. Faded, creased, a picture of herself and her mother standing in front of their house in Harlan County. On the back, in her own 12-year-old handwriting, "Nathan's house is across the street. His mom is really sick. I wish I could help him." Emily stared at the name. Nathan, the boy who lived across the street. The boy whose mother died. The boy she used to steal food from her own fridge to feed. The boy she never saw again after his mother's funeral. Could it be? No, that was impossible. That boy had been poor, skinny, wearing clothes with holes in them. The man in the grocery store had been well-dressed, healthy, clearly successful. But those eyes. Emily closed the notebook and hid it again. She looked at herself in the mirror. Bruises on her neck, dark circles under her eyes, a woman she barely recognized. Who was I before this? Somewhere in the back of her mind, a memory surfaced. A little girl running across a dirt road with a cheese sandwich wrapped in gas station paper, not caring about anything except making sure the hungry boy next door had something to eat. I used to be brave. The thought was so foreign it almost made her laugh. What happened to that girl? 3 weeks later, Emily saw him again. She was sitting on a bench in Washington Square Park, one of the rare days Derek had a job interview and wasn't home to monitor her every move. She had 2 hours, 2 precious hours of something that almost felt like freedom. A man jogging by slowed down and stopped near her bench, breathing heavily. Nathan! Emily's heart began to pound. He looked at her and smiled slightly, the way you might smile at a stranger. Nice day. Yes, she managed. It is. He sat down on a bench a few feet away, checking his phone, not looking at her, not pressuring her. Emily's hands twisted in her lap. She should stay quiet. Derek had taught her that talking to strange men was betrayal. But something in her, some spark she thought had died long ago, pushed the words out before she could stop them. Do I know you? Nathan looked up, his expression carefully neutral. I don't think so. Why? You look familiar. Nathan seemed to consider this. Then, Harlan County, Kentucky. Emily's breath caught. How did you? I grew up there. My house was across the street from the Dawson family. Little white house with the blue shutters. Dawson, her maiden name. Emily's eyes filled with tears before she could stop them. Nathan Cross. He nodded slowly. Hello, Emily. She was crying now, really crying, for the first time in years. I thought, I never knew what happened to you after your mother. I survived. His voice was gentle. Because of you. Because of me? You gave me a sandwich the night my mother went to the hospital for the last time. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a piece of paper. Old, yellowed, impossibly fragile. You wrote something on the wrapper. I've kept it ever since. Emily took the paper with trembling hands. Don't worry, she'll be okay. Her own handwriting, 22 years old. Oh my God, she whispered. I remember. Nathan didn't ask about her marriage. He didn't ask about the bruises she worked so hard to hide. He didn't ask why she flinched when a man walked too close behind her. Instead, he said, I work with a support center in Oakland. They help people who are going through difficult times, not just one kind of difficulty, all kinds. If you ever need someone to talk to, they're good listeners. He handed her a card, simple white, just a phone number, and the words Mirrorstone Support Services. I called them after my mother died, he continued. When I felt completely alone, they helped me remember that I wasn't. Emily took the card. She didn't say anything about Derek. She couldn't. The words were locked somewhere deep inside her, behind walls that had taken 7 years to build. But she put the card in her pocket, and for the first time in longer than she could remember, she felt something other than despair. 1 month later, Derek came home drunk and convinced Emily was cheating on him. She wasn't. She had never even thought about it. But Derek didn't need reality. He only needed suspicion. He threw her phone against the wall, shattering it. Then he threw her against the wall. I will kill you, he said, his hands around her throat. Do you understand? If I ever find out you've been lying to me, I will kill you. Emily looked into his eyes and believed him. That night, after Derek passed out, Emily stood on their balcony and looked down 14 floors. One step, she thought. One step and it's over. But then she thought about the card in her pocket, the phone number. Nathan's voice saying, they're good listeners. And she thought about the little girl who used to run across dirt roads barefoot, afraid of nothing. If I die, he wins. But if I live, I can become someone else. Someone new. Someone he can't touch. Emily went back inside. She started planning. The escape took 3 more weeks to organize. Emily saved small amounts of cash from the grocery money. $5 here, 10 there. Hidden in a tampon box Derek would never open. She memorized the address of Mirrorstone's shelter in Oakland. She identified the one morning when Derek would be at a job interview, too focused on his own failures to monitor her. Tuesday at 9 a.m., he would leave by 7. By 7:15, she would be gone. But the night before everything fell apart, Derek found the cash. You're planning to leave me. His voice was quiet. That was the most dangerous version of him. After everything I've done for you. Derek, please. He grabbed her hair and dragged her across the apartment. Emily screamed, but the walls were too thick. No one would hear. He threw her into the bedroom and locked the door from the outside. You'll stay here until I decide what to do with you. Emily heard his footsteps retreat, the sound of the television turning on, the crack of a beer can opening. She sat in the darkness, shaking. This is it. This is how it ends. But then she looked at the window that opened onto a balcony, the balcony that was only 5 feet from the balcony of the next apartment, 14 floors up. A fall would kill her instantly, but staying would kill her slowly. Emily thought about the 12-year-old girl who ran across gravel roads barefoot, the girl who wasn't afraid of anything. I used to be her. Maybe I can be her again. She opened the window. The wind hit her face like a slap, but not his slap. This slap felt like freedom. Emily climbed onto the railing. Don't look down, she told herself. Just jump. She jumped. The landing hurt. She twisted her ankle on the neighbor's balcony and collapsed in a heap, biting back a scream of pain, but she was alive. She crawled to the sliding door and knocked. An elderly couple opened it. Their faces transformed from annoyance to horror when they saw the bruises, the blood, the desperation in her eyes. Please, Emily whispered, please help me. They called the police. 20 minutes later, Derek was in handcuffs and Emily, bruised, bleeding, barely able to stand, was finally free. The shelter was small and clean, nothing like the penthouse prison she had left behind. The counselor wrapped a blanket around her shoulders, handed her a cup of tea, and didn't ask any questions. She wasn't ready to answer. Emily was starting to believe she might actually survive this when the door opened. Nathan walked in. She stared at him. Mirrorstone is one of the organizations my company supports, he said quietly. When your name came up, they called me. He sat down across from her. He didn't try to touch her, didn't try to fix anything. Just sat there, steady and present, the way the best kind of people do when you're broken. You found me, Emily whispered. No, Nathan shook his head. You found yourself. I just made sure there was somewhere for you to land. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the sandwich wrapper, 22 years old, falling apart at the edges. This, he said, is the most valuable thing I own, because it taught me that someone in this world cared whether I lived or died. He looked at her with eyes that held decades of unspoken gratitude. You taught me that. Emily began to cry. I didn't save you, she sobbed. It was just a sandwich. It was everything. You were kind when you didn't have to be. You were brave when it would have been easier to look away. He leaned forward. Emily, you didn't just give me food that night. You gave me proof that good people existed, and I spent 22 years becoming someone who could repay that debt. Emily looked at him through her tears. What do I do now? Nathan smiled gently. Whatever you want. For the first time in 7 years, you get to decide. 6 months later, Derek Marshall was sentenced to 7 years for domestic assault and false imprisonment. Emily testified against him. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop. She told the courtroom everything, every slap, every insult, every night she spent wondering if she would survive until morning. Derek didn't look at her once during the trial. Good, Emily thought. I don't need him to see me. I see myself now. Emily moved to Oakland. She rented a small apartment with money she earned herself, teaching elementary school in a neighborhood that reminded her of Harlan County. Poor kids, tough kids, kids who needed someone to believe in them. She was good at believing in people. She had practice. Nathan came to visit. Sometimes they would walk in the park or sit in coffee shops, talking about nothing and everything. He didn't try to rescue her. He didn't offer her money or penthouses or any of the things his billions could buy. Instead, he offered something more valuable, the chance to be Emily again. I looked you up, Emily said one afternoon. They were sitting on a bench in the park where they had reconnected. The same bench, as if some things were meant to circle back around. Nathan Cross, net worth $4.2 billion. Most eligible bachelor in California, according to some magazine. Nathan laughed, actually laughed, a sound she hadn't heard from him before. That article was ridiculous. Why didn't you tell me? When we first met again, you said you worked in tech. You made it sound like you had a desk job. I didn't want you to feel obligated or intimidated. He looked up at her. I wanted you to know me as Nathan, the kid from across the street, not as whoever the magazines think I am. Emily studied his face. You've been helping me this whole time, haven't you? The free rent at Pacific Heights, the fact that there was a bed available at Mirrorstone the exact night I needed one, the scholarship they offered me for teaching certification. That scholarship is legitimate. You earned it. Nathan, he sighed. Okay, I may have made a few arrangements, but everything you've accomplished, you did yourself. I just made sure the doors were there. You're the one who walked through them. Emily was quiet for a long moment. I don't want your money, she finally said. I know. I don't want to be rescued. I spent 7 years being controlled by a man. I won't spend the next 7 being taken care of by another one, even if he means well. I know that too. Then what do you want from me? Nathan turned to face her fully. Do you remember what you wrote on that sandwich wrapper? Don't worry, she'll be okay. You didn't write, "I'll save you." You didn't write, "I'll fix everything." You just acknowledged that I existed, that I mattered, that I wasn't alone. He reached out slowly, giving her time to pull away, and took her hand. That's all I want, Emily. To be the person who acknowledges that you exist, that you matter, that you're not alone, not as your savior, not as your benefactor. Just as Nathan, the boy from across the street who never forgot your kindness. Emily looked at their joined hands. The girl who gave you that sandwich was fearless, she said quietly. I don't know if she exists anymore. She jumped off a balcony 14 floors up rather than give up, Nathan replied. She sounds pretty fearless to me. For the first time in years, Emily smiled. A real smile, not the practiced expression she had worn for Derek, but something true and unexpected, like sunlight through storm clouds. I'm not ready for anything romantic, she said. I don't know if I'll ever be. That's okay. I might be broken in ways I don't even understand yet. That's okay too. Then why would you want to be with someone like me? Nathan squeezed her hand gently. Because 22 years ago, you wanted to be with someone like me. A broke, hungry kid with holes in his clothes and nothing to offer. You didn't see a charity case. You saw a friend. He smiled. Maybe it's time I returned the favor. 1 year later, the building was small, a converted house at the edge of Harlan County, painted blue with white shutters in memory of Emily's childhood home. A sign out front read, Mirrorstone Harlan. Because every child deserves someone who cares. Emily stood on the porch, looking out at the crowd gathered for the opening ceremony. Social workers, local politicians, a group of kids from the neighborhood who had already been told this place was for them. And Nathan standing at the back of the crowd, letting her have the spotlight. 10 years ago, Emily said into the microphone, I was a prisoner, not in a jail cell, but in a life that someone else controlled. I forgot who I was. I forgot I was allowed to take up space. I forgot I mattered. She looked at Nathan. Then someone reminded me, not by rescuing me, but by believing I was worth waiting for. By creating opportunities and trusting me to take them. By treating me like a person who could save herself instead of a victim who needed to be saved. She turned back to the crowd. That's what this place is going to do. Not rescue children, not fix them, just remind them that they exist, that they matter, that they're not alone. Emily cut the ribbon. The children cheered, and Nathan watched from the back of the crowd, his hand resting on the pocket where he still kept a sandwich wrapper from 22 years ago. That night, Emily found Nathan sitting on the porch swing of the old house, looking at the stars. She sat down beside him. I have something for you, she said. She handed him a small envelope. Inside was a new piece of paper, plain white, written in her own handwriting. Thank you for waiting. Thank you for believing. I love you. Nathan looked at her. Are you sure? Emily smiled, the fearless smile of a girl who used to run barefoot across gravel roads. I've never been more sure of anything. Nathan pulled out the old sandwich wrapper and placed it next to her new note. 22 years apart, the same handwriting, the same kindness. I've loved you since I was 12 years old, he said quietly. I never stopped. I know. Emily took his hand. And now I'm ready to love you back. Under the Kentucky stars, in front of the house where everything began, they sat together on the porch swing, two broken people who had learned to put themselves back together, two children who had grown up and found their way home. One sandwich, 4 words on a wrapper, 22 years of waiting, and a love story that proves kindness always comes back. In the heartwarming tale of Nathan and Emily, we witness the profound ripple effect of a single act of kindness, a simple cheese sandwich given to a starving boy that echoes through 2 decades, transforming despair into redemption. This story teaches us that true compassion isn't grand gestures, but quiet moments of empathy that plant seeds of hope. Emily's bravery in reclaiming her life reminds us that healing begins within, and sometimes the universe conspires to repay our goodness when we least expect it. In a world often shadowed by hardship, let's remember, one small deed can ignite a chain of miracles, proving that kindness always circles back, mending broken souls and forging unbreakable bonds. It's a poignant reminder to extend grace to others and ourselves, for in vulnerability lies our greatest strength. What life lesson has touched your heart from this story? Share in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if stories like this inspire you, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more uplifting narratives that celebrate the human spirit. Let's spread positivity together.